Disclaimer. This is a true story, and I am reenacting my life. Stories and thoughts that run through my brain in real time. This is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm just here to pop my shit. Are you ready to be entertained? I want to tell you a story of another one of our powers, which is manifesting. And the power, like, that's why I said, when you truly know who your being is, like, you get a message from your creator, right? And it will guide you through life, this lifetime. You ain't got to live in the small when you know God, you know. You can live balanced. And you do have some work to do in the sense of sewing. Not like sewing clothes. You know, we do that. But I'm talking about sowing so you can reap, you know. You ever heard reap what you sow? You got to sow first. Sow some seeds out there. And that's what the power we have when we sow, and then if it's of good and from your creator, then you will reap beauty, baby. And I'm on that stage of the reap. I can't wait. This is the beginning stage. But remember to sow some seeds of goodness. And it will come back to you. But I'm going to show you a story on which I didn't know at the time. I always be going through, which I said the message came to me and what was placed upon my heart through my life. But my first, like, seeds were sown through, like, I think elementary school. We'll start there. But I learned about, like, whatever you put here and it's not bad and you want good upon you and darkness is all around you, if you think it'll manifest and what happened, which I'm gonna tell you my school story. Going into school and how, like I said, and me knowing I'm different in my being, how I got what I needed without getting too much stuff on me. But nothing got in, but I had to go through that. Go through the dark stages of my life. Every time. My school experience. Like, I know who I am. And I know I went through the things that I had to get to where I'm at now. But I always knew I was different, right? Because from what, like, I couldn't relate. And I could not relate, you know, I couldn't relate to my peers or whatever. I couldn't even relate at my house because I just knew whatever I seen was not what I seen, and it just didn't add up. It was just contradiction all around me from what I read, from what I believed, and what I saw. Like, it just didn't add up. And then God fixed it that way so I can get what I need to know, right? And I'm so glad for the experience. I don't regret any of it but I always knew I was different, right? So, and I know I always had ability to adjust. Like, sometimes it took longer than others, but I could adjust to the feel of life, right? So, in saying that, I know that I'm an empath, right? And if you don't know what empath is, do your research. We'll get into that later, right? I didn't know the name at first, but I knew I had a thing for feel. At first, like, my sister, she used to say I was emotionless. I'm like, motionless. I said, is that why? In my head, I didn't ask her. Is that why I'm different? Are you supposed to show emotions? We'll start there. We get into that later. Right. Empath. Okay. Therefore, empaths can really only operate and be themselves when there has to be a certain temperament and vibration going on. You know what I'm saying? And like excessive talking and loudness, I could operate in it, baby. So that's why I be careful sometimes where I sit. Two of my Pisces. But the point of the story, my school experience. My birthday fell. I don't know if it fell too late to start the grade I was supposed to, or it fell too soon if I started early. I'm not sure. It don't matter. But anyways, when it was time for me to do what I was supposed to do for education wise, I think the Head Start place couldn't take me, so I had a private teacher come. Remind me, I'm at kindergarten, and my private teacher came to my house and taught me. I got educated, a private education. Not because my parents had money, it's just that was part of the education system where I stayed. And remind you, I went to a predominantly white school. That's like a country thing. I don't know. But that's how it worked. I don't know who was in charge of that, but it wasn't paid for. But in my eyes, I was special because I had a private teacher. And I felt good because, like I said, I'm an empath. I can't be around loudness, and I need the one-on-one attention in order for me to be myself. And I felt very comfortable. I don't know if that was a setup. That was God. Hallelujah. Okay. Anyways. Okay. So going into kindergarten, I remember my first day at kindergarten, I cried because it was so loud. And I remember I didn't cry until I got to gym class. And they was loud and bouncing this big tin around with balls. And I just cried. I just wanted to go home. Until I was sheltered. I was a sheltered child. And it wasn't quiet at my home most of the time. It was loud. I had 3 other siblings. And then I had a bunch of cousins that stayed around us. So it was not quiet at all. But I always found my quiet space. And you know, like, hey, okay, girl. For when I had a hard time on the first day of school. But anyways, I adjusted. Okay. And then, like throughout, I went to the predominantly white school, so like I said, most of the time it was quiet, and I just operated like an adjusted. And when I got to middle school, 6th grade was fine, but then 7th grade I went to the changes of life. I don't know what happened. I couldn't take it no more because an empath feels. Just research what empath is. And I couldn't operate in that anymore. Because, like I said, middle school was whole different. And then the issues that balled it up in me and at home had reached a point where I just didn't want to do anything. I made a decision in my mind. I am not going to do anything until something changes. I will sit in this bed and I will do nothing. I made a promise to myself. I will do nothing until something changes or somebody make that change. I don't care who it is. Somebody is going to do this. Or I am not going to do nothing. Everybody like, what's wrong with her? My father, my daddy, which I don't call my daddy. I call him by his first name, which we'll get into that later. That's a different story time. We'll save that for next video. Okay? It gets deep, but we'll start there. But Dave had a problem with that because I don't know if it's still law. I'm pretty sure it is, but you could be arrested if your kids did not attend school. Like, arrested. So his mission is, these white cops, these crackers, he bothered me, and you gonna go to school? And I was like, never, never. But But I didn't tell him why. My mom used to come and see what's wrong with her, or why she would try to talk to me. But remind you, we didn't talk before. So, you really ain't gonna give me to talk now. But I done made it consciously in my mind. I am not going to move unless there is change. That's the only way I can articulate it to me. I can't even articulate it to you. So, whatever. Maybe I was going through the changes of life that's going into being a teenager. But that's what I chose to do for my mental. And I couldn't be in my being. So, I was like, do nothing, go die. Do nothing, go die. Do nothing and die. I don't know. I just didn't say, I just said I wasn't going to do nothing, period. But anyways, I remember I went through a few things with, like, what is wrong with her? And then my dad was like, okay, she mentally, her mental. She won't talk to nobody. Her mental, so he took me down to the mental health. And told them, I can't get her to go to school, you know. That's what they told the psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist wanted to talk to me alone. Which, I've been acting all my life, you know. And I have watched a few films. And I know, okay, this is a change. He trying to get me locked up. Right? Because I know with mental health, then they put you in a padded room, right? Right? Okay. So, and now, like I said, I've been acting all my life. Well, I could, like, redo with what I see on TV, you know. And that's why my drama teacher, that's why I excelled too. Because she thought I was going to excel in drama. But I gave him one performance, and I'm like, I didn't even care when I got to the point. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. You know, so like I said, I can recreate things that I seen because I hadn't lived life. I was sheltered. I was in the house, but that's one thing I can do. I can act. I've been acting all of my life. Therefore, I knew whatever I told this white lady, it had to be something for change in my life, but it couldn't be to the screen while I was locked into a padded room. Remind you, I have seen Girl Interrupted, and I knew the stories that it couldn't be that on screen. So I just listed the issues that was not of mine. I was like, oh, I don't feel like doing anything. No, I listed the major issues that was not mine. Maybe it'll be a change in that interfere with why I couldn't be me. But I started off small, you know, as a white woman. I said I don't feel like riding my bike. I didn't want to go anywhere. I used to love going to church on Sunday. I don't like going there. I didn't like going to school. And then she got a little deeper. Is anybody's bothering you or mess with you? No. No one's bothering me. I said at home is always loud, it's fussing and cussing, which I didn't go to the scream too far, what CPS was called. All right. So I didn't take it to the scream. I just, there's a lot of fussing and cussing. And then she said, it's your parents harming you or some stuff we got into, but I don't remember. But I said, no, they're just fuss and cuss. And she said, do you think they're getting a divorce? And I was saying in my head, but I didn't tell her. I said, I wish. But she was worried about, am I afraid they're going to separate? But I was like, no. I just don't feel like doing anything. Which I was true. I didn't want to do nothing. But I made the promise, man, I'm not doing nothing. It's a change. And I thought maybe telling her that they fuss a lot because that they would do the job. But no, they just sent me away. I mean, not away. They just sent me back into the home to be me. But they maybe a little mess in order for her, you know, to get her going. She don't need to be locked up. No one's harming her. Send her home with some pills, you know. I didn't take them pills. But it did give me a pass for a while, but I still had to go back to school. I still had to go back to school. And then I think it was like at the end of one grade going into another. But anyways, I remember starting another grade and I still, like, there's no change. There's no change. And I didn't go back to the mental health. I didn't take them pills. They just stopped taking me because I went back to school. But I'm like, got to the point, there's no change in this grade either. Nothing's changed. Just the same thing, same people. And then I had a great idea. I was like, if nobody else going to change it for me, I'm going to change it for myself. And I think I called some private schools. And I was just curious on, like, how much does private school cost? And then I called the lady interpreting like I was a parent. Very savvy. And I remember her telling me the cost. And I'm like, dang. I can't even get what I want or need for my basis. I know they ain't gonna pay for this for my education. I'm like, I ain't got no money. I can't get a job right now. So that's out of order. And then I remember that staying on my road, I can go to a different school and still keep my address. So that's what I did. I put it in the plate and I went to a different school and see would that change be good for me. Nope, but it was the same. And then I started doing that same thing where I am not doing anything until something changed. And then they got to hollering, oh, do I need to take down there to the mental health? And then I went and talked to their counselors in that school. And then they told them, no, she's been in the mental health, right? And she was like, since school is not working for her, maybe we can get her. They got me and I was into the mental health field. That they gave me a private teacher to come, and my mom had to bring me to the library to be taught my lessons at the library, and I got me another private teacher without paying. I'm telling you, being that's God, because whatever I thought and I didn't have it, and that's what I needed though. I needed to be educated through privately to operate, because she didn't come to the house to teach me. I had to go to a private place, which was the library, and I exceeded. But then, after that ended, I think it was just for that school year. Then the next school year started, and that's when I think I started high school. And then the teacher, I guess the private teacher recommended her. She's been selling in school, and this is a mental case, and she's doing fine. She's doing fine. Let her go back to high school. Let her go back to her peers and see how she operates then. Not solving shit. They was giving me what I needed. I needed the private education without dealing with my peers. But they sent me back. And I said, okay, let me get it. Just drop. Maybe something will change. Same shit's changing at the house. Same thing at school. You can guess. I went. It was the same shit. And I'm like, I'm doing nothing. And I'm like, I can't keep going through this. They're not going to give me another private school. They're going to lock my ass up in that padded room next. Right? You went to high school. You got to learn, So I said, okay. So I skipped a few days and the school got to calling. And then I think on the third try, nobody was at home. I answered the phone and said, she's going to be taught from the house. I was like at this point, 10th grade, I think. Like early 10th grade. Yeah. And no, because this was like 8th grade and going to like the 9th going into the 10th when I didn't get private school. So like in the 10th grade, that's when I went back to my old high school. When she said she's fine, she can go back out there into society. And I was like, oh Lord, I don't want to go back to that school. I'm gonna go try to go with my old road dogs. You know? And see, if it's changed, something changed, then you can guess ain't shit changed. So that's when I stopped going to school. And I wasn't gonna do that same thing. Do nothing. It was like, you too big for that. And you do fine. Like, is you taking your medicine? Take no pain medicine. Ain't shit wrong with me. That's what I need. I'm not getting what I need. And ain't shit changing at the house. These motherfuckers too crazy. So they got the calling, and I just told them straight up, she gonna be homeschooled. And they took up for that. They stopped calling. Ain't nobody come by check on me. And I was free from education. But I did enroll in, like, that's why I told the lady I was gonna be homeschooled, because I signed up for this program. It was like a get your own high school diploma through the mail, and they mail you like the curriculum things. And I think I had to pay $20 a month. It was a little fee I had to pay for the whole each grade. And then they was like, you gonna get a job? That's one thing about that. You had to get a job. You learn to ride a pony and learn how to drive. Get a job, learn how to drive and ride a pony. That's what he told me. He was different too. Anyway, he said, you gonna get a job. Pay for this. But I ended up I think I ended up moving out with my sister. I ain't even end up finishing the curriculum. That's a chapter for another day. But I did a few lessons, and then next chapter. It was a change though. I got what I want. I got my education, an opportunity to do my work, and I got change. So I'm telling you, the power of the dog.